So we are moving further on registration process. Section 22, 23, 24 we have discussed yesterday, and today now we reach to section 25. And it says that when a businessman come to know that he is to seek registration, then question is within how many days he should apply for the registration. So section 25(1) says that you need to apply in every such state or union territory in which he is so liable within 30 days from the date on which he becomes liable to registration. Means the day on which your liability arises, you can apply within 30 days. So 30 days time is allowed. You are within time. What will be the effect if he does not apply in 30 days? It will come in coming slides. Then we will discuss over here. But here up to this place, he says that he need to apply within 30 days. And then he says in such manner and subject to such conditions as may be prescribed. As I told you earlier, that in almost all the sections of CGST Act, in every section you will find this language, to such condition as may be prescribed. And this prescription is through rules. Rules have been made separately. Therefore, relating to registration rules, you can refer what are the conditions and in which manner it is to be applied. I'm telling you in brief what is to be done. That main thing was that after you make an application, the government will give you registration within 3 days if there is no deficiency in the application concerned. Means if your application is proper, it is properly filled, the necessary documents have been attached with the application, then government is supposed to give you registration within 3 working days. I'm repeating, 3 working days. Working days means if in between any public holiday comes in, say 15th August, say 26th January, or say Sunday. So Sunday is not a working day for government. Public holidays, national holidays are also not working. Therefore, leaving those days, then you have to see 3 clear days. And if 3 days are cleared and no objection is received from the assessing officer, then your registration is allowed. Means you will be deemed registration is granted. This was the problem in the earlier regime. Whenever the assessee used to apply for registration, the officers kept on pending that file till the assessee approaches them personally or through his advocate or his chartered accountant or his counsel. And unless he used to offer some money to him, they try to find out this fault or that fault. But now, as I told you, this is the biggest advantage of this GST system, that everything is to be done online. Nothing is to be done personally or physically by presenting over there. So in 3 days, the moment you file the application, the portal, GSTN portal will decide whether this application is to go to the central authority or it is to go to the state authority. As I told you, there are 2 types of the authorities. One, those authorities which were dealing with VAT in earlier regime, and there are certain other authorities which were dealing in excise, central excise duty as well as service tax. Those people are central people, and VAT people are state people. So to whom application will go, it is internally decided as per planning of the government. And the GSTN portal immediately mark the moment it is filed and ARN registration acknowledgement number is generated, immediately the application is passed on to the officer concerned, either in the center or in the state. Now the moment application reaches him, so 3 days starts. If the officer feels that all the documents are complete, then he don't do anything. And on the 3rd day evening or on the 4th day, he issues the registration certificate. But if in 3 days he found that certain papers are not complete, certain information is lacking, then what he will do? He will send the mail In the application, your email address is written. In the application, your mobile number is written. In the application, your PAN number is written. So he will send the mail and he will send you the message also that in these documents, such and such deficiency is there. You please remove this deficiency within 7 days. So a time of 7 days is granted to remove the deficiency. If you remove the deficiency within 7 days, then he will pass an order on that application on those documents within next 7 days. Meaning thereby, in total around 15 to 17 days are involved and he is to complete it. But if there is no deficiency, then he has to do it within 3 days itself. So this is such a fast procedure that has been laid down that in indirect taxes, if you want to seek a new registration, it will take only 3 days if your application is complete. So whenever we file the application, we should be very careful that whatever document are required to be attached, those should be attached. Those should be legible, readable. Means when it will be uploaded, at that time, he must be able to read those documents. Those documents must be very clear. Therefore, while filing the document, please see that the documents is so clear, as well as after scanning, you should see it again, whether these are readable, so that whenever it reaches over there, he should not raise the objection that documents are not readable. So if everything is seen properly, you will get the registration within 3 days without paying any bribery, etc., etc. So this was the biggest advantage: fast, ease of doing business, and economical also. So this was for registration in the normal case. And what is required over here? First thing is, although it is not written over here, I'm just telling you, when we will file the application, naturally he will ask your name. Means if you are a proprietor, then he will ask your name because PAN number will be in your name. So you have to write down your name and PAN number. Immediately you file the first page of the application, writing your PAN number. Immediately that PAN number will be verified from the income tax department. GSTN portal has a link with the income tax department where PAN numbers are there. So it will be immediately connecting with that PAN number, and within no time it will tell you PAN number is okay. Now you can fill up the balance application. Means the remaining part of the application you can fill. Then only you can fill the remaining applications. So first part is over, but you will be writing your email address, you will be writing your mobile number, and so that message can come to you. So everything is online, no physical notice will come to you. Then you have to write down what is the name of your business, from where you are conducting your business, means address of the place. If you are having only one place of business or you are having more number of places, then you have to write down more number of places address also. Thereafter, whether you are owner of those premises, of that place where from you are conducting the business, or it is on rental basis. So if you are owner, then you have to attach a proof of your ownership. If it is on rent, you have to attach rent agreement and no objection certificate from the landlord. So all these documents, then what is your nature of business? After that, in that nature of business, what items you are going to purchase and what items you are going to sell. So all these, then who will be the authorized signatory? Who will sign that application? Next is, who will be the proprietor, whether it is a proprietorship, whether it is a partnership, whether it is a company, who are the proprietor, who are the directors, who are the partners, their names, addresses, their PAN numbers, everything, their mobile number, their email address, etc. All these informations are written in the application itself, so that tomorrow government can contact you any moment of time. So these are the information which are required to be filled up in the registration application, and if your application is complete, within 3 days you will get the registration. Then he says, if you are a casual registration, if you want a casual registration, when you are to apply. So he says 5 days in advance. As I told you, casual taxable person means that person who is already registered in any other state, but he wants to go to other state for exhibition purpose. He wants to go there to put his goods over there so that the person who are visiting that place, they can see and place order on him in the exhibition. So what he is supposed to do? He is to apply 5 days in advance, 5 days in advance from the date of exhibition. Next is, he says that if you are situated in a special economic zone, or you are a special economic zone developer, then he says, this is a explanation over here. There are two explanations. One is this, and this says that if you are situated in a special economic zone and you are also situated even in the same state, you have another principal place of business, then you need to have two registrations. One where you are located at the other place of business other than SEZ area, then you need a registration over there, as well as you have to have a registration at your place in the special economic zone. What are these special economic zone? A special economic zone is an area which is situated in India, but it is treated as area outside India. Look, this is an area which is in India, but it is treated as area outside India. So if any unit is located over there in that area, that is treated as located in outside India. And if any goods he is receiving, it will be treated as import or export. Therefore, he says, if you are situated in a special economic zone, then you need to register in the zone also, as well as wherever your other location is there. Even if it is in same state, you want to have a registration. Then is every person, this is the second explanation, every person who makes a supply from the territorial waters of India shall obtain registration in the coastal state where the nearest point of appropriate baseline is located. Means those who are conducting businesses through territorial, समुद्र के जरिए जो लोग बिजनेस करते हैं, territorial waters of India के से अगर कोई transactions कर रहा है, तो in that situation he also need to have a registration where at his state's coastal areas touches, which is the nearest place from the baseline, he is to seek registration over there. This is a little bit difficult topic, but don't worry, in future chapters, whenever this will come into picture, the more explanation will come to you. For this purpose, you simply remember that if every person who makes a supply from the territorial waters of India shall obtain registration in the coastal states where the nearest point of the appropriate baseline is located. Next is single or multiple registration. Now look, suppose you have a business in Odisha. There are few businesses which a proprietor, suppose the businessman is a proprietor. He is running a ready-made garment business. But after a distance of 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers, or in another place, he starts his another branch also. Both the branches are located within the state. From the other branch, he sells, suppose, jewelry. Now what will happen? The name of the ready-made garment shop may be different and name of that jewelry shop may be different. So he is carrying two businesses within the same state. But he is a proprietor of both the businesses. He has one PAN number. Question is whether he will be required to take two registrations for both the businesses or he can continue with the one number itself. So answer is that since he has one PAN number and both the units are located in the same state, therefore he can go with a single registration also. But question is, if he wants to take two registrations separately, then what will happen? The answer is yes, he can take 2 registrations. So 2 registrations will be granted to him with 2 different nature of businesses and 2 different place of businesses. But in that case, a person having multiple place of business in a state may be granted separate registration for each such place, subject to such conditions as may be prescribed. Whatever are the conditions, there are no much conditions, there is no seriousness. 2 numbers will be granted. Main problem is that if he takes 2 numbers, then he has to maintain accounts at both the places, accounts and records. Number 1. Number 2, he has to file separate returns because 2 numbers are different. Although PAN number is same, but GSTN is different. So he has to file 2 returns. He may be getting 2 assessments. He may be getting 2 type of inspectors visiting his places. So therefore, normally businessmen only take 1 registration. But there are certain businesses where they like to have 2 registrations or 2 or more registration. So you can take it, there is no problem. Now the question is voluntary registration. As I discussed with you earlier, that even if you are not required to take registration, you are not liable to take registration because number 1, say you are not making any interstate sale. Number 2, your turnover is not more than 20 lakhs. Number 3, you are not operating through e-commerce operator. You are not a casual dealer. You are not a non-resident dealer, etc., etc., where there are requirements of mandatory registration. So question is, my turnover is less than 20 lakhs. I'm not selling goods outside one state. Then can I take registration? Answer is yes, because taking registration is advantageous. Because I told you that if you want to run your business in such a way that you will be selling your goods or services to other businessmen and not to the consumer straight away. If you are selling to consumer will not take ITC. But if you are selling to another businessman, he will be interested in taking ITC. And if you are not registered, your ITC cannot be passed on to him and the goods will become costlier for him. So for that purpose, the government has allowed that those whose turnover are less than 20 lakhs even, they can get themselves registered. That was the reason I explained you earlier also, that number of registrations have gone to double. Because now the registered person can compete with the unregistered person at the price at which unregistered person can sell, at the same price now registered person can sell. And that ITC will also be able to be taken credit by the customer. Therefore, customer would like to buy it from now a registered person instead from a unregistered person. So therefore, voluntary registration is allowed and they can apply it. Next is distinct person for each registration. I have already explained you that if you have 2 registration, then you are having 2 numbers and you will be 2 persons like this. So you will be called distinct persons. Next is establishment of distinct persons. This is the same as I have explained you earlier, that where a person who has obtained or is required to obtain registration in one state in respect of an establishment, he can also have an establishment in another state, then such establishment shall be treated as establishment of distinct person. Meaning thereby, earlier I explained you that if you are having 2 units in the same state, you can take 2 registrations. Now he says, if same person having the same PAN number, he is having one establishment in one state and the other establishment in the other state, then separate number are required to be taken. So those, if you are taking separate numbers, then you will be treated as establishment of a distinct person. Means you will be treated as 2 persons, not as 1 person, even though you are having same PAN number. Now he says, PAN for grant of registration. PAN number is mandatory for registration of the any person. So PAN is mandatory. So first of all, you have to take PAN number. But if suppose somebody does not have a PAN number, but if he has a tax TDS number, tax deduction account or collection number, then that will also serve the purpose. Aadhaar card. Now from 1st April 2020, remember the date here. From 1st April 2020, Aadhaar card linkage has been made mandatory for new registrations, as well as it is to be made for the old, for the new registrations as well as for the old registrations. And what will happen if you do not have the Aadhaar number? Then he says, then methods will be told how it is to be assigned. Every registered person shall undergo authentication. Please read. Every registered person means a person who is already registered. Because till 1st April 2020, this provision was not there. Aadhaar linking was not there. But now from 1st April 2020 only, he says every registered person shall undergo authentication or proof or furnish proof of possession of Aadhaar number in such form and the manner as prescribed. So this is compulsory. Further, he says that a time limit will be given within which you should get it authenticated. If you have not done it, then registration allotted to such person shall be deemed to be invalid. Although from 1st April, it should have started authentication. But you know, since March 2020, there was a lockdown in the country. So this, although it is mandatory, this has not been enforced so far. I think within few days, it will start, because on new applications, or if you file any amendment application, government has started asking for it. Few days earlier, one application was made for amendment of change of address. At that point of time, an objection has come from the department. They said, please send Aadhaar card copy so that Aadhaar number can be linked. So in case, even in case of old registrations, now they will be asking for it. Since there was a lockdown in between because of this corona pandemic, that is why this was postponed. But now it will be very seriously, this will be taken. Otherwise, registration allotted to such person shall be deemed to be invalid. Then he says, on and from the date of notification, every individual shall, in order to be eligible for grant of registration, meaning thereby the earlier slide was relating to if you are already registered. But now he says, if you are not already registered, but now if you want to get yourself registered, fresh registration, then along with other details, you have to give your Aadhaar number and get it authenticated. Next is, on and from the date of notification, every person other than individual. He says, suppose you are not an individual. Aadhaar card number is always for the individuals. Now he says, suppose you are partnership firm. If you are partnership firm, when you apply for registration, you have to write down the names of the partners. And when you will write down the name of the partners, those partners' name have to be authenticated from the Aadhaar card. If you are a private limited company or a public limited company, if you have managing director, if you have whole-time director, or if you have any other authorized signatory, then those persons has to be got authenticated with the help of Aadhaar card. Similarly, in respect of other people, he has told the name of the person, name of the authorities, authorized representative or authorized signatory. In all cases, the Aadhaar card is to be got validated so far as the registration part is concerned. Then he says, a non-resident taxable person may be granted registration on the basis of such other documents as may be prescribed. You are aware that suppose some non-resident taxable person comes to India and he wants to take a registration. For example, that non-resident person was supplying the services of online data, and it was mandatory for him to seek registration in India. Now he is not living in India. So he does not have Aadhaar number, he does not have PAN number, then what will happen? How the registration will be granted? So government in rules, the other documents such as passport, such as his tax identification number in that country. So there are certain documents which are required and which have to be attached with the application for registration in case of non-resident, because he does not have PAN number or he does not have a Aadhaar card. Then he says failed to obtain registration. Now the question is, suppose a person was mandatory liable to be got registered, but he has not taken the registration. What will happen? If the assessing officer, if the proper officer, in GST, the assessing officer, we call him as proper officer. The person, the officer who is having your jurisdiction, means in the officer in whose jurisdiction your address is located. All addresses are located and proper officers have been appointed for that. Say I'm in Delhi, I'm in Rohini. For Rohini area and other nearby areas, there will be one proper officer. Similarly, for other areas, there will be another proper officer. So the entire state will be divided in areas, and for each area, there will be a proper officer over there. So the proper officer, when finds that such and such person, if it comes to his knowledge that such and such person was liable to be registered, but he has not got registration, then he can issue a notice for him and he can ask him to get him registered. Of course, the penalty provision and everything will apply. And what loss will go to him, that person concerned, because of non-registration, he has to bear that. Unique identity number. Now look, the foreign embassies who are working in our country and their officers, consulates or embassy of foreign countries, or UN, United Nations organization specialized agencies, those are working in the country. They are having offices. Their officers are situated over here. If they want to purchase certain goods from the market, goods or services, then in every country, for every embassy, this facility is available that they are not to pay any GST on that. GST or VAT or whatever tax is applicable, they are tax free. They are free from that. But the question is, government says, no doubt, it is free to you, but please pay the tax first. Means whenever you will go to buy the goods from the market, government says, please pay the tax. Thereafter, after 3 months, you prepare your data and file an application for refund. So, because government does not want that the chain should break, because if to some person we are selling on by collecting tax, to some person we will not collect tax, the chain will break. So government does not want breaking of the chain for those goods which are taxable. So therefore, what government has done, now those people, since they are not taxable, they do not have PAN numbers. When they do not have PAN numbers, their registration cannot be done. So therefore, government has not done their GST registration. But government will allot them UIN, unique identity number. And when they will go to market to buy the goods, this supplier, this seller will issue a bill and write down his UIN number instead of GSTIN number. What he will do, for a person like me, he will write down GSTIN number. But for a person of this United Nations organizations, multilateral finance institutions and consulates or embassy of foreign countries, for them, what he will do, he will write UIN number. So all those people have to apply to government for allotment of UIN in a simple format. The procedure for them will be quite simple. They will just apply and they will get it without any hanky-panky. Thereafter, any other person or class of person as may be notified by the commissioner shall be granted UIN. Means, as on today, government knows that these are the person to whom UIN can be allotted, but tomorrow some other organization may come in to whom UIN can be allowed. Therefore, government has taken the power with him that in future also they can notify such persons who are to be qualified for that. Next is registration of the unique identity number shall be granted or rejected after due verification in such manner and within such period as may be prescribed. Certificate of registration shall be issued in such form. A certificate, when your application is found complete, the order will be passed that you are registered. Thereafter, one registration certificate will be issued to you in which your name will be written, your legal name will be written, your trade name will be written, your address will be written, and your GSTN will be written, and the signature of the person who has issued that is the officer concerned, his digital signatures will also be there. A registration or a UIN shall be deemed to have been granted. Now the question is, when you made an application, as I told you that GSTN will transfer that application either to the state government or to the central government to the officer. But the application which has been cleared by central, then that will be a number for state also or for union territory also. Meaning thereby only one officer will work on that, but it will be applicable for both. So the other person cannot say, no, you have given a wrong number. No. Once a state officer has given the number, it is acceptable to center. And if central officer has given the number, it will be acceptable to the state. Deemed grant of registration. If within 3 days, no objection is raised, no deficiency letter is issued by the proper officer concerned, then it will be, registration will be deemed to be allowed. So the officer thereafter cannot do anything, order will be passed. Deemed rejection. Now, if CGST has rejected your application, it will be deemed to be rejected so far as state is also concerned. Means if state has rejected, for center it is rejected. If center has rejected, it will be rejected for state also. Then validity of casual registration. As I told you, that casual persons means the persons who are already registered in any state. If they want to come for exhibition to another state, they need to take registration. So for how many days that registration will be valid? The answer is it will be valid for 90 days. 90 days only. That is why he is called casual registration. Next is extension of period of casual registration. Government has kept a power with them that the commissioner or the proper officer here it is written that the proper officer may on sufficient cause. Suppose that person who has taken casual registration, he comes and tells you, sir, this exhibition is still to work for another 10 days or 20 days or 50 days. So another extension of 90 days can be granted. So for meaning thereby total 180 days casual registration can be done. Advance deposit of tax by casual taxable person. He says that since the casual taxable person is already registered in the other state, so it means here with simple things he will be registered as a casual registration person because number he is already holding. GSTN he is already holding in the other state. So he has been checked thoroughly over there. But here with little bit of formalities that registration will be done, but they have put a condition. You have to write down in the application what will be the estimated turnover which you are going to have in this exhibition. Estimated turnover. And they say if whatever you have written, this will be the estimated turnover, you have to calculate tax on that and you have to deposit that tax in advance. The moment you will apply for registration, immediately a temporary number will be allotted to you. And on the basis of that temporary number, you will pay the advance tax. And thereafter, your registration will become permanent. Additional tax for extension. Now, suppose after 90 days, you say, sir, I want extension of another 10 days. They will say, okay, no problem. We will do it. But tell me, how much will be your turnover in the coming 10 days? So whatever turnover will be there, on that you have again to pay the advance tax, and then only it will be allowed. Now the question is amendment in registrations or UIN. This is very natural that if I have started a business today and suppose I'm a partnership firm, tomorrow we are 3 partners. One partner may say after few such time, after 1 year, 2 year, sir, I'm not happy with you. I want to leave the partnership business. Number one, or the place where you were working on rent, that time period is over of 11 months. The landlord tells you, you vacate my premises, and or for any other reason you want to leave those premises, or suppose you had taken your own premises and you want to shift from rented premises to your own premises. So there can be many reasons. So he says that in that case, that change of address will be required, change in partnership will be required. So, or some change in bank account is required. You have changed your bank account, or there may be any other reason. So he says that if all these things happen, means change in particulars happens, then you are to inform the officer concerned online on GSTN portal within 15 days. Within 15 days, you are to carry out the amendments. There are 2 types of the amendments. Those amendments are those amendments which are to be done by the proper officer only. And there are few amendments which you just make the amendments, you just apply the amendments, and it will be automatically done without any checking by the officer concerned. So what are those there are 3 things which are required to be checked by him. Number 1, change of address, means place of business, your principal place of business is changed. Then government wants that it should be informed and the officer concerned should check it. Change in authorized signatory, change in constitution, or change in nature of business, etc. So these 3 things are required to be checked by the proper officer before amendment is allowed. But in other cases, such as you are changing the bank account and certain other things are there, if you are changing that, you just go online, log into your ID, make the changes, and changes will be accepted as it is without any approval required. No approval for some amendments, I have already explained you. No rejection without opportunity. Yes, this is important. In GST, there is one thing very important. If you file an application, then it will not be rejected unless an opportunity is given to you. Means if the proper officer is not satisfied with the document submitted by you, then what he will do? He will check the documents and immediately he will send you a deficiency memo. Sir, these are the documents which are not in order. Please rectify this. And he will give you time, 7 days or 15 days, whatever is prescribed in the rules. Then you reply it within that time, and thereafter your amendment will be carried out. So he says no rejection without opportunity. So he cannot reject your application without giving an opportunity to you. Deemed rejection under the other act means if your application is rejected under State Act, it will be rejected under center, automatically rejected under center. If center has rejected it, it is automatically rejected under this. This is relating to both for registration as well as for amendment. Now comes the question, you have got amendments. First you got registered, then on changes you have got the amendments. Now the question is, suppose tomorrow you want to get your registration cancelled. There may be so many reasons. You are not interested to continue in the business, you have certain difficulties, or your turnover has gone less than 20 lakhs, or whatever is the case, you are not interested to continue, or the officer looks at that your working is not proper, that your working is suspicious, that you are not selling the goods, you are only selling the invoices to take the credit. Therefore, you are doing fraud with the government, you are doing cheating with the government. So the proper officer, on having come to know or on having knowledge of this, he may also cancel your registration. So both the things are there. you can yourself apply for the cancellation, as well as the government can also cancel your registration. So this is the procedure written how cancellation will be allowed. So he says, we have reached to section 29. The proper officer may either on his own motion, means the proper officer can cancel your registration either himself or on application filed by you. Means either you can apply for cancellation or officer at his own can also cancel your registration even without your application. Or application filed by the registered person or by his legal hire. Application can be filed by whom? Either the person himself, and suppose he has expired, then his legal hires in case of death. For to cancel the registration, the officer has the power to cancel the registration in a prescribed manner. Means you will file an application, you will give the proof, along with the proof, he will see whether the document is in order and whether you have paid all taxes or whether you have sold out all stocks or you have no stocks. Means when you will file the application, you have to give a declaration that on the date of cancellation, what stock you are having with you, because on that stock you have already claimed ITC from the government. So government will tell you, okay, look, if you want to cancel registration, either you sell all the goods and pay the tax, or if you could not sell the goods, then you give a statement, write a statement that this is the value of the goods with me, and calculate the tax and pay that tax. So that tax has to be paid before cancellation. The business has been discontinued, transferred fully, or any other reason, including death of the proprietor. There is any change in the constitution of the business, or the taxable person other than the person registered is no longer liable to be registered. Suppose in the last 1 year, his turnover goes down less than 20 lakhs and he was having registration. Now he says, no, I do not want to have. My turnover has gone less than 20 lakhs. I want to seek cancellation. So he can apply for the cancellation. Or if he dies, his successor can file an application. So for all these things, or you have sold your business to the other person as a going concern, then also the new person has to take a new number and the old has to be cancelled. During the pendency of the proceedings relating to cancellation, your number will remain suspended, because it may be possible that in cancellation, the government officer may take some time, because he has to check so many documents. He has to see whether you have paid the taxes properly. He may like to examine that in the last 2-3 years, whatever you have filed, that has been checked or not, whether any tax more is required to be collected from you, or he may issue you a notice to come for the assessment. So he says, till your registration is finally cancelled, it will remain suspended. Meaning thereby, you will not be able to buy anything against ITC, you will not be able to sell against anything, you cannot collect the tax, and you cannot pass ITC to any other person. Cancellation from retrospective date. So in earlier case, when I apply for registration, I will write down some date, that on this date, from this date, I want cancellation. Similarly, if the officer gives you notice, he can cancel your registration from the date mentioned therein, that from next week, from this date, I want to cancel. But it may be possible that he has found from his records or from other informations which is available with him, that 1 year back, you have taken the registration on fraud. Means the documents that you have submitted, they were fraudulent. Then he can cancel your registration from the back date also. Although this is a very difficult process. Cancellation of retrospective date from the back date, cancellation of registration from the back date is not an easy process. And in such cases, matters have gone to higher authorities in appeals, and tribunal and high court in many cases have said that retrospective cancellation is not accepted. Why? Because the person concerned has already claimed ITC on his turnover, on his purchases, and he has also collected tax from his customer, and he has passed on the ITC to those customers. If my registration is cancelled from the back date, then what will happen to the ITC which has been passed on to my customers? Their ITC will also go. So government says it is not very easy to cancel the registration from the back date, but power is there that if a registered person has contravened such provision of the act, or a person paying tax under section 10 composition has not furnished returns for 3 consecutive tax periods, or a person has not furnished returns for a continuous period of 6 months if he is a regular registration, or his turnover has not become, whenever you take voluntary registration, then within 6 months you are to commence your business. If you have not been able to do, the officer may cancel your registration. Or you have taken registration obtained by means of fraud, willful misstatement or suppression of facts, then also your registration can be cancelled. During pendency, it will remain suspended. Now, what will be the effect of cancellation of registration? Your registration is cancelled. Then what will be its effect? Simple thing, when your registration is cancelled on that date, whatever was the stock with you, you have to pay tax on that. So stock may be of 2 types. Stock may be of ordinary goods, means stock which you are selling, and stock may be of capital goods also, on which you have already claimed the ITC. But those capital goods, question is whether you are to sell those goods at the date of cancellation. And if you are not able to sell, maybe because of any reason, then you have to pay the tax due on that. So he says, what is the effect of cancellation? The cancellation of registration under this act shall not affect the liability of the person to pay tax and other dues under the. Means, what does it mean? You got the cancellation done, but for the last 3 years, you have filed the return. At a later date, suppose officers checks those 3 years documents, because there is a time limit of 5 years or 4 years. In 4 years, he can make the checking. So you have closed your business after 2 years. He has time limit of another 2 years to check you. So if even in future, even if you have your registration is cancelled, in future, if your tax liability comes in, then it will not affect your liability. You have to pay the liability. Therefore, he would like that before cancelling your registration, what he will do, he will like to assess you. Instead of, because today it is cancelled, you run away, and after 2 years, how can he catch hold of you? So your liability is not discharged. The rules may, such tax and other dues are determined before or after the date of cancellation. Means this assessment can be done even before the cancellation or even after the cancellation. As I told you, registration may be cancelled today, but in 2 years, even if the officer checks it, then also he can raise the liability and collect it from you. Next is cancellation of registration, as the case may be, shall be deemed to be a cancellation of registration under this act. Means if you have cancelled the registration under Central Act, it is automatically cancelled under State Act. Payment of taxes on stock. I have told you that the taxes have to be paid, calculation has to be made, and it is to be done. Next is tax payable on capital goods. This is a system how tax is to be paid on capital goods. Rules have been framed for that this much of percentage of the use, means suppose a capital goods life is taken as 5 years. Suppose after 1 year you have closed your business. So ITC, which already you have claimed the entire ITC. Suppose that was 1 lakh of rupees and you have worked for 1 year only thereafter. So life of the asset is taken as 5 years. So 1 year ITC will be allowed to you. So remaining 4 years ITC you have to reverse. Means you have to pay now because you have already claimed. Or if those goods have been sold, suppose those capital goods are sold. If those goods are sold, then whatever is the selling price, whatever tax you have collected on that, so you have to find out that tax and the tax of 4 years otherwise. that is to be calculated. Whichever is higher, it is to be paid. Means if on sale the amount is higher, or the ITC which you have collected or you have claimed for 5 years, but now it is sold after 1 year, the 4-year tax is to be calculated, and then against if that sale on sale tax is more, then more is payable, or if it is less, then whatever was ITC which you have claimed for 4 years, that is to be reversed and paid to the government, whichever is higher out of the two. Revocation of cancellation. Now it may be possible that the officer concerned has cancelled your registration. You did not apply. You did not apply, but officer comes to know that because of these reasons, I want to cancel your registration. If he find out that you are dealing in a suspicious activity, he will issue you a notice and he can cancel your registration. But you are not satisfied. Or he may not even issue you a notice and cancel your registration unauthorizedly. So he says that if your registration is cancelled, then you can apply within 30 days to the same officer for revocation of cancellation. Means you need not to go to a higher authority in appeal. Normally, when a officer does an act, he passes an order. Normally, this system is in the government, then you need to go to his higher authority, because if he has already done it, then why he will favor you? But it may be possible that due to any reason, he was actually not wanted to cancel it, but it has been cancelled for a reason, say some technical default of the GSTN portal. It may be possible that GSTN portal, some wrong feeding has gone, and because of that wrong feeding, your registration is cancelled. They wanted to cancel of somebody else, but by mistake, your registration is cancelled. The officer does not know it. Under his signature only, cancellation order will be passed by the GSTN and it will be signed. Therefore, this facility has been given that you can approach means you can apply online to the officer concerned. You have wrongfully cancelled my registration. These are the facts of, because on cancellation, reason has to be stated. What is the reason? If that reason is wrong, then you can provide the documentary evidence that reason given this order is wrong. I am here. These are my documents. You revoke the cancellation order should be cancelled and my registration should be restored. So this is possible and it can be done like this. The proper officer may either revoke. Yes. Now you have filed an application for revocation. Sir, you have wrongly cancelled my registration. Please restore it. But suppose officer is not satisfied with your reply. Means you have to apply within 30 days. Either your time is gone, you could not apply, or you applied but he is not satisfied with your answer. So he will confirm the order. Thereafter, again, you have 90 days to file an application, to file an appeal before the first appellate authority. Then you can go to tribunal also. So the time limit is there. Even if he rejects your application, but he cannot reject, but the application, the documents which you have filed, he has to see those documents and he has to pass another order apart from the cancellation order, whether he is satisfied or he is not satisfied. So deemed cancellation order under other acts means if central authority has cancelled your registration, it will be deemed as rejected by the state authority also. And if state authority has rejected, then it will be taken as it is rejected by the central authority also.